What's up guys, it's Apollo here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with the next part of What If Naruto Had Children with Athena and Aphrodite. Yes, I said her name right finally, so yay. Aside from that, enough of my joking, which was quite lame. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel as well as my main channel. I will put the link in the description. You can visit it as well if you want to read Naruto What Ifs. So aside from that, yeah. Just enjoy the story, and without any further ado, let's begin. Her story continues. Pass the paintbrush, Annie. Annabeth nodded and happily handed her dad the small brush before she excitedly knelt down next to him, her eyes gleaming with joy. She was starting at the new Empire State Building model she had bought on her field trip, and it was starting to come to its form. It would go perfectly with the model of the Statue of Liberty and the Capitol building she had in her room. Naruto smiled and slightly shook his head at his daughter's antics. Ever since she could read, Annabeth had been obsessed with architecture and iconic buildings. He wasn't surprised at all when she spent almost all of her allowance on the Empire State Building model. Lacey had chirped that she would have spent the money on chocolates or dolls instead. But if seeing Annabeth skip and hop into the car with the model box in her hand meant anything, Naruto knew she felt satisfied with her purchase. I think this part is beige. The eldest Namikaze daughter nodded with a smile and opened the beige paint. Yup, it's the most prominent color. For the past 4 hours, the father and daughter had been working to assemble the model and now could finally paint it. Annabeth didn't trust herself to paint the small, delicate details, so Naruto was tasked with this job. After working with so many small and fragile candies, he was quite well suited for the task. Be careful, Dad, mumbled Annabeth softly as she leaned in closer to see if her dad was doing it right. Naruto furrowed his brow in concentration and nodded back. I know, I'm almost there. Lacey sat on the sofa behind her daddy and her big sister, watching How to Train Your Dragon on TV, happily munching on the candy her daddy brought home from work this week. Normally he wouldn't allow her to eat so much in one night, but he was so focused on building the model he didn't notice. Lacey just silently grinned and enjoyed her wide selection of candy. It was a very good day for Lacey. Not only could she enjoy all her candy, her teacher was absent from school the whole morning and their whole class got a free day for fun. Best day ever. Looking down at the candy full of box and chocolates, Lacey wondered which she should try next. Try the Calison, Lacey. It's really good. Lacey looked around when she heard a strange voice speak to her. It sounded to be a woman and was very melodic and sweet. Confused, Lacey looked down at the box of candies and found one that had been labeled that looked like it spelled Calison. She couldn't really read well at her age, unlike her sister, and popped it in her mouth. That's my cute girl. It really is good, isn't it? Lacey couldn't help but nod with a big grin. It's really good. The carambar is good too, though it's very chewy. Lacey happily listened to the strange voice and unwrapped the traditional French candy. Cream bar? She whispered to herself before she threw it in her mouth. It really was chewy, but it tasted great, and she grinned at the taste, swaying from side to side in joy. It's carambar, baby. Oh, you're so cute. Lacey, said Naruto with a stern tone, as he turned to see all the candy wrappers on the couch. What did I say about eating so much candy in one night? Lacey looked like a deer caught by the headlights and just stared at her daddy with a cute and sheepish smile, hoping to not get in trouble. And what did I tell you to do with all the wrappers? You told me to not eat so much in one night and to throw the wrappers in the trash, mumbled Lacey softly. That's right, so give me the box and throw out the wrappers. Lacey pouted and handed the box over and started to gather all the wrappers. Naruto smiled and kissed the top of her head. That's my good girl. Lacey smiled back and ran over to the trash can to dump all the wrappers inside, but she heard the voice again. Ah, my sweet and handsome Naruto. He's such a cute and loving father. Oh, I miss him so much. But suddenly the phone rang and Lacey raced to answer it. Hello, she cried with a happy grin. Naruto rolled his eyes, playing at his princess. Took the phone away. Sorry about that. This is Namikaze residence. Hello, Mr. Namikaze. This is Principal Hawkwood. Naruto smiled and nodded to himself. Ah, yes. How are you doing, Mr. Hawkwood? Not too well, I'm afraid. For some reason, Miss Turner did not turn up to class today, and we still cannot find her anywhere, so Lacey's class will be taught by substitute until we find Miss Turner. Naruto winced a little at the subject and just nodded to himself. I just wanted to call all parents and assure you that this is an isolated incident, and the substitute teacher will be as good as Miss Turner. Well, I have no problem with that, but I do thank you for taking your time to call us. Of course, Mr. Namikaze. Have a good night. Good night to you as well, Mr. Awkward. Naruto sighed as he placed the phone down, his mood soaring with worry. Anyone would be better than having a monster as a teacher, but I seriously hope that this was an isolated incident. What's that, Daddy? Naruto sat down on the sofa and lifted little Lacey onto his lap. That was the principal of your school, he said, attracting Annabeth's attention. He said Miss Turner is missing and they can't find her, so you will have a substitute teacher for the next few days. Lizzie shrugged and nodded. Okay, but is Miss Turner going to be fine or back soon? I don't know, Princess. Annabeth hopped onto the sofa and hugged her knees to her chest, looking cozy. It's a little weird that your teacher would just disappear like that. She had a thoughtful expression on her face that looked exactly like Athena would when the goddess tried to deduce the situation, and it made Naruto feel a little bit nervous. Maybe she is sick and went to the hospital or something. Lacey pouted and looked sad. I hope not. I really like Miss Turner. Well, Miss Turner only liked demigods as food, little one. The older sister shrugged. Maybe substitute will be better than her. Naruto forced a smile and kissed Lacey's hair. And he's right, Princess. Maybe you'll have to like you really like your new teacher. Who knows? I hope so. Annabeth tugged her dad's arm and pointed at her model. Come on, Dad. We have to finish painting. Naruto just chuckled and nodded. Okay. Link break. Olympus' main hearth. Near the center of the floating paradise of Olympus was the main hearth, the origins of fire of the gods. The tongues of the vibrant red flames licked the bottom of the sky as the gods dined and chatted around it almost every day. It was the one place where harmony will always be kept. It was the place for familial bonding, family dinners, reunions, and even weddings. The goddess of the hearth, Lady Hestia, would almost always be seen tending the and many of the Olympians would sit along the warm glow and chat with the sweet and friendly goddess. Hestia whined about Aphrodite as she sat on one of the many silver nails mats around the hearth. What should I do? The goddess of hearth, with her curly black hair tucked into a simple brown scarf wrapped around her head, looked over at the most beautiful woman in the heavens with her warm and comforting red eyes. She had a slightly sheepish smile on her pretty face and lightly shrugged. I'm sorry, but honestly I don't know. Another goddess sitting next to the other side of Hestia sighed in exasperation. Don't come bother Aunt Hestia with all your weird problems, Aphrodite. The goddess lightly glared as over to her goddess of love with her silvery eyes as she warmed her hands near the hearth. Unlike you, we don't have the time to deal with mortal men. Have some sympathy, Artemis. Aphrodite pouted as she rested her head on her hands. This is really bothering me. A blonde goddess sat across from the other three and rubbed her temples. What are you droning on about again? Artemis sighed and decided to answer. Well, Aunt Demeter, Aphrodite apparently really misses the mortal she had a relation with a few years ago and wants to go visit him, but she can't come up with a good enough explanation that will make him understand why she left him all alone with their daughter. Demeter sighed again. Which mortal are you talking about? I can't keep up track with all your men. His name is Naruto Namikaze, muttered Aphrodite, as she spoke the flames with a small stick. He owns a cute little candy store in New York and is just the sweetest and cutest father ever, she said, finishing on a high note. The name of the man seemed to attract the attention of the final goddess of the group, who sat next to Demeter looking a little bored. Her eyes, beautiful face, suddenly took a calculative expression as she narrowed her eyes, intimating grey eyes at Aphrodite. Oh? Exclaimed Demeter with a look of enlightenment. Isn't it the same mortal who Athena had a child with first, and then you came along and seduced him? Aphrodite smiled and nodded. Yup, that's him. I still can't believe Naruto actually had a child with you. Athena stared into the hearth and ignored the looks of the other goddesses that gave her. He was a talented and intelligent man with a great mind of warfare, not just some pretty man who you can play around with. I don't play around with him. We had a loving and happy relationship. The love goddess gave Athena a peeved look and just huffed. Just because you decided to have a brainchild with Naruto doesn't mean he doesn't like sex. Artemis looked increasingly annoyed as Hestia felt a little out of place. You should have seen how he was in bed, Athena. You really missed out on something good. Enough! Athena glared at Aphrodite, making the latter flinch. Artemis shook her head and sighed. Can the two of you not argue over some boy? He's not just some boy, cried Aphrodite as Athena carelessly nodding along. You may think that all men are evil creatures that only hurt and demean women, but Naruto is not like that at all. She turned back to the flames and started to poke it again. You should see how sweet and loving he is to my cute little Lacey. Okay, then let us see. Athena looked over at Demeter. I beg your pardon, Aunt. Demeter? Demeter pointed to the hearth as she looked at Aphrodite. Just show us how sweet and caring you think he is. Okay. Aphrodite turned to Hestia and grinned. Sorry, Hestia, but I'll be borrowing your hearth for a few minutes. With a wave of her hands, the flames of hearth flickered before forming into the live image of scene inside Namikaze Naruto's household. Link break. A little bit to the right, Annabeth sat on her bed as her dad placed the finishing Empire State Building model on the shelf she kept all her models on, right next to the Statue of Liberty. There, that's perfect. She grinned happily and clapped her hands together, marveling at how perfect her shelf now looked. Thanks, Dad. Naruto smiled with a sigh, standing back up and rubbing back small of his back. You're welcome, sweetie. He sat down on the bed next to his little princess and started to stare at the shelf. Is it complete now, or do you need some more models? Oh, I still need the Parthenon in Nashville. The dad smiled at his daughter and ruffled her hair. The Parthenon, huh? Annabeth grinned and nodded. Yup, it's an exact replica of the original Parthenon in Greece. Naruto smiled and nodded along. They had it in the museum today, too, but I only had enough money to buy one, so I got this one. Well, if you get 3 A's on the semester report card, I'll go and buy you the model. Annabeth's eyes widened and gleamed, making Naruto chuckle. And you know what? If you get straight A's, that means 6 A's, I'll bring you to the Nashville's Parthenon in person. Annabeth, as stunned. Really? Naruto smiled and nodded. Really? Wow, thank you, Dad. Annabeth lunged at her dad and wrapped her arms around his neck, making him laugh and hug her back. I'm going to study really hard and make sure we're going to the Nashville. The dad held his daughter closer and he placed her back down on the bed, slightly brushing her hair to the side before kissing her forehead. You're so much like your mother, it amazes me. Annabeth's eyes widened a little. She had never really heard from her dad mentioning her mother before. You both have the same love for architecture and the same expression on your face when you're happy, really? Whispered Annabeth. Naruto nodded. Yeah, you have your mother's eyes, and every time you're really happy or excited, you get the same twinkle in your eyes. Your lips would slowly twitch up. The dad chuckled and wrapped one arm around Annabeth's shoulder. And of course, when you're mad, both of you scare me to death. He finished with another chuckle. As young as she was, Annabeth could hear the pride, the hint of sadness in her dad's voice. She turned to her dad and kissed on his cheek and hugged him tightly around the neck. Naruto, a little surprised by the sudden hug, but gladly hugged this girl back, feeling the love and warmth she gave him. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Princess. After almost full minute, Naruto pulled away and kissed Annabeth on forehead. Okay, it's time to go to bed, sweetie. His daughter smiled and nodded as she lifted the covers and tucked her in, kissing her again on the forehead. And I mean sleep, not reading on the books under the covers. Annabeth rolled her eyes and smiled. I know, Dad. Naruto nodded and smiled again. Good night, Annie. Good night. Link break. Olympus' main hearth. Hestia smiled at the scene she just witnessed in the fire and couldn't help but feel the surge of warmth inside her heart. Aphrodite was right. This Naruto was quite sweet and loving father. Astronomically, more than she could say about her own father. Annabeth looked very happy and loved in the scene, which was usually rare expression to see on a demigod's face. See? Tell me that wasn't adorable. Even though it wasn't my Lacey. And Athena nodded with a happy smile on her face. He's really loving and sweet. I can't believe he still remembers all those small details about me. He's a good father, said Artemis with an approving note. I have seen many terrible fathers while gathering my hunters, and it's refreshing and a relief to see that such fathers really do exist. I agree, said Demeter, but she then turned to Athena. Though he still thinks of you a lot, Athena. The wisdom goddess closed her eyes and sighed, but the slight hint of red made its way to her cheek. He still remembers how you smile and how you look when you're angry. Demeter smiled and nudged her knees. Maybe you should visit him sometime. He sounds like he still loves you. He is a good father and a good man. That was all Athena said, looking regal and composed. Aphrodite huffed and crossed her arms. Just wait and keep watching. I bet he remembers me a lot more. She gave Athena a slight glare. After all, I made sure to give him a very nice parting gift our last night together. Athena glared back, but Artemis just sighed. Just keep watching. Link break. After closing the door and to the Annabeth's room, Naruto headed ruffling around in the room just across from it with a smile on his face. He knocked a few times on the door before opening it, very much unlike her oldest daughter's room. Lacey's sister was much more messy and unorganized. There were dolls and stuffed animals all over the place, and almost everything was pink. Every time Naruto would step into the room, he could have sworn and wondered if Aphrodite had been tinkering with the room. Lacey, it's time to go to bed. The little girl was sitting on her bed with a Barbie doll and a comb with her hand. I'm not sleepy yet, Daddy. She whined with a small pout, which was usually convince her dad to let her stay up longer. Can I just play with Lucy a little bit longer? Naruto sighed at the name Lacey gave to her doll and sat down on the bed. No, you have to go to school tomorrow and need to wake up early. He poked Lacey lightly on her forehead before kissing her hair. You need to get your rest and be on your best behavior when you meet your new teacher. Lacey pouted again. It's just a substitute teacher. With a knowing smile, Naruto shrugged. I don't know. Whoever it is, they may turn out to be your new permanent teacher. But what about Miss Turner? She asked. Naruto shrugged again. I don't know, but there's a chance maybe. The blonde man stared at his youngest daughter with a loving smile, marveling at how adorable she looked. Unlike Annabeth and Athena, Lacey didn't like Lacey's mother now had long red hair and warm violet eyes, and their daughter had clearly inherited his traits, his blonde hair and blue eyes, but her attitude was certainly similar to her mother. She had the same love for sweets and had a bubbly personality that would light up the room. Daddy, she whined, as she climbed under her blanket with a pout. I'm not sleepy at all. That's because you had so much sugar after dinner. You're too hyper to sleep. Naruto brushed his daughter's hair out of her hair and smiled down at her. If you keep eating so much candy, I won't bring home so many boxes anymore. No! Cried Lacey, horrified at the prospect of no candy. I promise I won't eat so much, but you still have to bring home the same big box. The dad chuckled at side. Fine, but you promised. He extended his pinky and wiggled it. Pinky swear it. Lacey giggled and wrapped her pinky around the father's. Okay. With a fond smile, Naruto leaned down and kissed Lacey's forehead. Good now. Be a good girl and go to sleep. But I can't sleep. Naruto sighed, but Lacey looked up at him with a small smile. Can you sing me the hushed lullaby? Lacey, you're almost 6 years old. Lacey pouted and clapped her hands together. Please, you used to sing it to me all the time. Fine. Naruto patted Lacey's head and placed her arm back under her blanket and tucked her in, and she quietly turned to her side, looking at her daddy in joy. He turned around and turned off the lamp before he started to rhythmically pat her on the shoulder as he began to sing the lullaby to her. As after finishing on a soft note, Naruto smiled and stopped his rhythmical patting. Lacey was actually asleep and had a tiny sweet smile on her face as she snuggled into the pillow. Naruto couldn't help but give a small chuckle at his little princess. It had been since so long he had sung her that lullaby, and it still worked. Thinking back to a few years ago, Hush Little Baby was Lacey's favorite song, and it would put her to sleep every time. Unlike Annabeth, who never liked any lullabies, he could still remember how Annabeth cried when he sang Itsy Bitsy Spider for her. Slowly standing up from the bed, Naruto leaned down and kissed Lacey on the cheek. I love you, my little princess. Link break. Olympus' main hearth. Hestia smiled again at the image of the flame. It had been a long time since she had seen such a heartwarming scene. As the goddess of family, she couldn't help but feel happy at seeing such strong bonds between family and father and daughter. Especially that. It was impressive that even without a woman in his life, he still had done a great job in raising his girl. Hestia couldn't name one male god who could have done what Naruto did. Aphrodite had tears in her eyes as she hugged Hestia close. Oh, Hestia, I have to go see him. Artemis sighed and rubbed her temples. Aphrodite, Aunt Hestia is not a pillow you can hug because you're sad. It's okay, replied Hestia before she slightly patted Aphrodite's shoulder. And you shouldn't be sad, Aphrodite. You should be glad that your daughter has such a nice father. But I miss Naruto. Demeter smiled as she turned to face her fellow goddess. I must admit that it was a very cute scene. If you watch again when the girls wake up in the morning, we see him feeding them cereal. I will admit that he is the sweetest mortal man I have seen. Aphrodite just ignored Demeter's and dried her tears. And these girls need a mommy in their lives. Every girl does. The goddess of love conjured up a mirror in her hand and started to fix up her makeup. I mean, I can sense and measure the love Naruto has for the girls, and it is very, very strong. But nonetheless, the girls still need a mother. If only that stupid initial law would disappear, I could go down at least spend a few days with him. Artemis sighed again, and she had a feeling that Aphrodite might actually do so, show her some love to her daughter, but would actually want to spend another romantic night with Naruto and Namikaze. Even more, Hestia bit her lip and nodded. I guess you're right, a family is really not complete without a mother. It's okay, I'll send some of them my best cereal. Demeter smiled and nodded to herself. I promise that your girl will grow very well with the help of my cereal. And all the while, Athena was silent. She sat beside her aunt with her grey eyes staring into the hearth, her mind running a million miles an hour in thoughts, despite how much she hated Aphrodite's usual irrational behavior, but she couldn't help but agree. Athena clearly saw the love Naruto had for both of his daughters, and was very glad. He was one of the few fathers of her children that didn't feel overwhelmed or burdened when she dropped off their children to him. She would always remember how happy Naruto looked when he first held their daughter in his arms. But Aphrodite had Hestia were correct. Both Annabeth and Lacey needed a mother. And as much as it annoyed her to say it, Naruto needed a woman in his life. She had always felt a little guilty about leaving Naruto by himself to raise their daughter. And having a woman in his life would make him and his daughters feel happy. Then she would give them her blessing. Aphrodite sighed and made her mirror vanish. Naruto should have a woman in his life. Aphrodite had a pat on the back by Hestia and smiled. It's okay. I'll be sure to watch over your and Athena's daughters. Athena looked up at her aunt with a surprise. I'm not only an Olympian, so I am much more free, and I'll go check on the girls and make sure they're well. Athena smiled and nodded. Thank you, Aunt Hestia. That would be great help. Aphrodite also nodded. You are so cool, Aunt, to most of our immortal children already, so I'm sure the girls will love you. Tia, come back to my place after this, said Demeter to her older sister. I'll give you some of the top-of-the-line cereal and oatmeal to bring to the mortal world. Hestia just smiled at her sister. Sure, sister. Link break. Can we go for ramen again tonight, Daddy? Naruto sighed as he walked towards Goody Elementary, holding on to his daughter's hands as they head towards the kindergarten building. Not 2 nights in a row. Maybe we'll go on the next weekend. Annabeth held open one of her hands in many books with her free hand, and she looked around. Hey, Dad, I have to go meet Percy soon. He said he doesn't got some of the homework we got yesterday and needed my help before class. With a chuckle and slight worry, Naruto reluctantly nodded. Sure, go for Percy. He leaned down and kissed Annabeth and hugged her slightly. Be sure to be back at 3 o'clock sharp. Annabeth rolled her eyes and smiled. I know, Dad. She playfully slapped Lacey's shoulder with a smile. Bye, Lace. Bye-bye, Annie. Continuing his way to the kindergarten building, Naruto lifted Lacey into his arms. He was still a little worried about another monster posing as someone's in the school and wanted to hold his little girl close. But when they arrived at the usual building, there was a large group of students along with their parents standing outside of the building. Naruto heard some of the mothers talking about the new teacher and saying she looked sweet and beautiful. Naruto looked over at the door of the building and the new lady was shaking hands with the parents. He had to admit she really was beautiful. Not like Miss Turner, who was alluring and sexy. The new lady was pretty in a sweet and loving way. And even from so far, he could see the incredible warmth in her eyes. She had long black curly hair and was wearing a simple white blouse with beige dress pants. As the parents dropped off their children and left, the lady eventually came and shook Naruto's hand. Hello there. Naruto smiled and gladly shook her hand. Hello, I'm Naruto Namikaze, and this is my daughter Lacey Namikaze. The lady gently touched Lacey's cheek. You're really cute, Lacey. Lacey giggled happily, making the teacher smile wider before turning back to Naruto. It's very nice to meet you, Miss Namikaze. I am Miss Hess, Tia Hess. She smiled, making Naruto feel warm and comfortable. I'm the new kindergarten teacher. We're going to have a very fun day together, Lacey. As everyone smiled. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys, for the day. I hope you like this one, and if you do, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Just ignore the background noises. It's just my family rumbling around here and there. Yeah, I apologize for that. Now, I'll see you guys in a bit. Peace!